I've gotten a new importance on just engagement
Right.
as well as consistency. You know, so maybe definitely, yeah, maybe in the past it was a task or tasking rather for me to post to my social media, or maybe I thought like, oh, no one really wants to hear about my real estate stuff today, whatever. That's not the case for me anymore.
Right.
I know that there are people listening and wanting to learn about real estate, but maybe they don't know how to approach me. So I have to be able to be the person to be like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm here. Give it, giving,
Right.
giving, giving. Let me
Absolutely.
give you all the free information as much as I can.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Oliver Perry, your host, and today we're going to talk to a real estate agent out of New York, and he's a beast. Let's get into it. All right. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I've got Kyle Chang. He is a real estate agent. I'm gonna let him give the floor and really get into his background, but he is a real estate agent. He's out of New York. He is an internet buddy, more or less. We've connected over Instagram and really, really gotten to know each other in that manner. And now we're hooking up in person, so it's good to have him on. Kyle, I'm gonna give you the floor. I want you to give them your background, where you're from, who you are, what you do, and then we'll start the interview.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Oliver, for this lovely opportunity to come talk to the people and on your show.
My pleasure.
As you said, yes, I am a real estate agent. I'm a licensed real estate salesperson in the state of New York. I work primarily in the area between Western Queens and Central Nassau. So that is a pretty wide little range. I've been doing this approximately 7 years. I work with an amazing company that's in both Forest Hills, Queens, and East Meadow, New York. It's called Remax City Square. And yeah, that's the basic gist of that.
Dope, dope. So easy, man. That was easy. That was pretty simple. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
So, all right, let's. So, first question, Kyle. First question is: when it comes
Please.
to this real estate, being a real estate salesperson, who decides the range? Is this like police officers? You got districts. You got like a precinct that everybody kind of sits at that has like the Remax logo on it. How's that?
Oh, okay.
How's that work?
Got you. I wish that would be amazing. That would be awesome
Right,
if I could just like plant my flag and be like, see this right
right.
here?
This is mine.
Everything that touches this, mine's. But no. So I think what you're asking is kind of how do agents determine what like neighborhoods they're targeting,
Mm-hmm.
what areas that they are or are allowed to sell in, stuff like that.
Right.
So the broad answer to that is that by being a state licensed realtor,
Mm-hmm.
I can actually sell anywhere in the state of New York. And now since our multiple listing service went from Long Island and Queens, we joined One Key MLS,
Mm-hmm.
which is in Westchester. We can now actually go and sell in that area. But of course, distance is really the thing that determines everyone's area.
Right.
So and time, right? So I have focused my areas based on just knowledge. If I'm knowledgeable in a certain area, I
Right.
will heavily focus in that area, and then just proximity to my tools, my office, my coworkers, and then my personal residence as well.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not like my original thought was, you could sell in the state of New York, but everybody has like this particular area where their Remax office works. In your case, the Remax office works out of here, Brooklyn versus Harlem versus, whatever other borough we're talking about. That's
Sure,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool. So, what made you become a real estate agent or a real estate salesperson? Where'd that start?
So I'm so glad that you asked that question. Recently, I got to kind of reflect on this, and
Okay.
it was something that sort of happened to me by force and by accident.
Okay.
And
That's a weird
what I
combination.
I know, right? What I mean by that is that so the by accident part really was kind of by the osmosis of what my father was doing. My father, who still does it today, was a little bit of a real estate investor. He
Okay.
told me he's told me stories since that I don't remember when I was a little kid. Like
Mm.
starting out with our first house, I lived in this house from birth to the age of 11. He decided to sell it because it was just like a good opportunity, good time for him to sell or whatever. And we moved to another house in the same area. We only lived there for 2 years, and then he did it again. We sold the house, we moved somewhere, we lived there for 4 years, and he did it again, and he sold it.
Right.
And to me, it was just like, oh, okay, we're just moving. I didn't realize that he was investing in real estate. He was buying property, he was fixing it, and then living it for a little bit, and then selling it. And so
Wow.
I've gotten that background from him already. And then back in 2009, when I graduated from Hofstra University here on Long Island, my father started investing in rental properties. He started buying houses in the Uniondale area. And at that time, like most stories like this go, he was buying houses for super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the New York market, 250K, something like that, renovating it, and then renting it out for almost anywhere from like $4,000 to $5,000 per month.
Right.
So he was making absolutely crazy
Yeah, that's
returns.
a
And
good
this is
thing.
just, you know, you can find things like that,
Mm-hmm.
but just for us, it came at a certain time where we were just super lucky. He bought it at the right price,
Right.
rented it in a high rental area by a university, and was just able to get more people into it at higher rents. So there
Wow.
was that part of it.
Wow.
That's the by accident. The
Okay.
by force
Okay.
was
This is gonna be good.
I know. Sorry, this is a long answer, but I promise it's
No, no,
great.
I like it. I like it. Go for it. Go for it.
So let's go back to 2014.
Okay.
I'm about to get married. My wife and I are both laid off from our jobs,
All right.
and we are planning a wedding while being unemployed. And I am doing like what any other person would be doing. I'm watching a whole lot of HGTV. And
That's it.
watching a whole bunch of like real estate related TV shows. I'm
Right.
reading real estate articles because I like seeing the people on TV, so I'm reading articles about them. And that's like $1 million listing crowd and whatnot. My wife just makes this observation. She's like, hey, you don't really know what you want to do with your next step in terms of your career. You seem to be really interested in real estate. Your dad kind of does it.
Right.
Why don't you just go get your license? Better yet, I'll go get it with you. I was like, all right, why not? So we take the 72-hour course, we take the test, and that was nearly 7 years ago.
Wow. That's first of all, I love how you set the stage on that first. That was
Yeah,
good.
right?
That was good. You got to paint the picture first. That was really good. But that's a great story, man. That's really cool to see, your father's influence on you when it comes to the real estate piece, and then as well, like you said, the forcing yourself into it. But even then, having the wherewithal to sit down, take the test, a 72-hour test, and get it right, and then just to
Yeah.
go from there. And 7 years later, here we are. So that's really dope, man. That's a fantastic story. So to go back to your story though, in regards to your father, as a real estate professional on your side of the stick, what to you kind of makes a good real estate investor? Because I know you've seen quite a few of them. Of course, with your father being a huge influence, what, in your
Mhm.
opinion, from your perspective, makes a good real estate investor?
So the number one thing I think for sure is they have to have zero emotions in the deal.
Mm,
There has to be no emotional attachment to the property, to the location,
right,
whatever it is. They really just need to be so hyper focused on the numbers,
right,
because with the way that it is, whether you're a flipper or whether you're a buy and hold, right?
mm-hmm,
So those are the two main types of investors that I really kind of deal with as a residential agent. So, when you're looking at it as a flipper, yeah, you're going to your spreadsheets constantly, double checking to make sure that the price of lumber hasn't gone up,
right,
making sure that the market is still on trend for the price that you want to get for the house. And then it becomes, yeah, you have to buy it at X, renovate it for Y, and sell it for Z.
right.
Otherwise, there's no point of even doing it.
That makes sense. That actually makes sense. And it's interesting that you said that because I've never actually been able to talk to an agent about their perspective on how well or what makes a really good investor. And to me, you guys are going to see probably more investors than literally anybody else outside of actual investors.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think so. I mean, if you're lucky enough to work with somebody like that,
Right,
can speak to you almost on the same level that you as an agent see the homes from,
right,
because as an agent we do have that kind of dichotomy. We are able to help one manage the expectations of buyers and sellers on
right,
the emotional side, because there
right.
is definitely an emotional side to real estate,
There
but then
is.
there's also the numbers of it to make sure that it makes sense to them, to purchase something. So that's the fun part about it for me, definitely.
That makes sense. That's a really good way to see it. The emotional versus the number. Um, you got so many people, particularly when you're in residential as you are. The regular, shall we call them, and this is no offense to anybody, Joe home buyer, shall we call them?
Sure.
They
I
are
love
some
Joe Homebuyer.
right,
He's
and
my
yeah,
man.
they're not bad. Joe Humbayer's not a bad person. He just
No.
he's a different style of purchase. He's still in real estate investing. He just doesn't realize he's not on our side, shall we say, where real estate investors
Right.
are hanging out, which is really interesting. So with you being in New York, man, New York has gone through a lot, particularly with the whole COVID-19 thing. How
Sure.
has how has the game affected you since COVID hit, and then how what have you done to kind of change your style and how you go about it?
Absolutely. So let's. You'll notice that I like to go back in time a lot.
Yeah,
So let's go back in time.
paint the picture. Paint the picture, Kyle.
March 2020, shutdown, right?
Right.
We're not allowed to do any face to face business whatsoever. And you're stuck there with your hands on your lap, like, how do I do real estate without seeing people
Yeah.
or physically walking into a property? That's when I double down on social media big time.
Okay.
It's something I should have been doing already. And if anybody out there who's listening to this is a real estate agent and you're not investing heavily into your Facebook or your Instagram account,
Right.
start doing it right now, because it has changed my perspective on what social media is and
Mm-hmm.
how it can effectively promote your business, and it has changed the game for me in that sense. So in that sense, that's a tool that have used a lot more. Maybe to also speak on to like market conditions and
Mm-hmm.
what like the desire for things to sell. I think it's been the same across the board for most kind of major city areas. There was mass migration out of the boroughs.
Yeah.
Um, to be fair, only like two boroughs had massive migrations. That was Manhattan and Queens.
Okay.
Queens, unfortunately, um, Elmhurst Hospital at a certain point and Flushing Hospital at a certain point, two major, large, uh, amazing hospitals in Queens,
Mm-hmm.
they unfortunately became epicenters for the pandemic,
Oh man.
because that's where most of the patients were going. That's where most of the craziness was kind of happening.
Right.
And, amazing opportunity for me to say, shout out and thank you to all of the workers, the nurses, doctors, janitors, everybody from those hospitals who got us through all of that, you
Absolutely.
know, and that unfortunately it negatively affected both desirability to be in those areas, price points. So it just flooded people out of there, and people actually started flocking to Brooklyn. They
Mm-hmm.
started going to Long Island, which is the suburbs of New York City.
Right.
And so that's really what started the kind of insanity. And I mean, it's has cooled down since, but there are still people putting in offers $50,000 to $60,000 over the asking price, and they're getting outbid.
Wow. 50
Yeah,
to 60K over asking and still getting outbid.
still getting outbid.
Jesus Christ.
The craziest one that I've heard in a pretty affluent area
Mm-hmm.
on Long Island called Old Westbury. This was back in, I think, February of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to an agent. She was like, "Yeah, we put in an offer $120,000 over the asking price, and we got outbid."
What? What kind of condition are these property? Are they in good condition or are they just in like?
So That's the thing that I'm glad has finally caught up to people.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, from like, yeah, I would say that period between spring and summer, March to July, it didn't matter the condition of the home.
Wow.
It really didn't matter the condition of the home. Didn't matter. People were waiving appraisals. They were waiving inspections. Whatever got them into
What?
the house faster, they did it. The standard was, and it kind of still is, unfortunately. The standard is if you're not willing and able to go at least $20,000 to $30,000 over the asking price,
Right.
there's a very strong chance you're not going to get that house. You know,
Whoa. So what was causing this? Was it because that's more than just because the way I see it, and from outside looking in, of course, being that I'm not an agent and I'm not in New York,
sure,
what was causing that? Because that sounds like it was more than just COVID. Because there's got like I know in a couple areas there are a lot of out of country buyers, oil
sure,
money and stuff like that. They just have to blow. They have to purchase something to save money in their own country, so they'll just buy whatever. But
fair,
was
yeah.
that the same thing in New York? What was causing all that craziness?
No, it was all really domestic players, and the thing was, it was just the perfect equation of the interest rates being at historic lows. When we
Right.
reopened up for business, the interest rates I think were about 2.3%. So like on a 30-year fixed rate loan at 2.3% compared to that time in 2019 where it was like maybe 3.5 to 4%.
Right. Right.
You got to think like it was the banks giving away free money.
Yeah.
So like even people that had cash, they didn't care. They went ahead and they put 40% down, which was already
Right.
more than anybody else could really do,
Right.
saving themselves the other 60% to do whatever they wanted with, right? And still getting a loan at 2.25. Like it was,
Jeez,
it just
Louise.
made it just made
That's
perfect
nuts.
sense
Yeah.
to buy a house,
Yeah, and
you
for
know. And then of course,
those who are listening as well, that to add more context to Kyle's story, like 2.5 and 2.3, we're talking VA loan numbers at that point, right? That's normally what the VA loan looks like. But the fact
mhm,
that you can get that on a conventional, just out of the box kind of kind of loan is nuts.
right.
That's super duper low. That's
So,
crazy.
so Joe Homebuyer,
Right.
who back in 2019 could maybe afford, like a pretty nice, good condition, 450, $500,000 house
Mm-hmm.
in an area in Central Nassau. Now he could buy a house that's like 650, $700,000 and make pretty much the same monthly payment.
Wow.
So
That's
already
crazy.
he's getting a nicer house, maybe a bigger house,
Right.
and it doesn't cost him anything else.
Yes, he's not coming out of pocket as heavily as you might have during the normal
Right.
market. That's nuts. So let's go back. Let's go back a little bit, Kyle. Like we said,
Sure.
we can go back in time a little bit here. We're gonna go back to your comment on the social media part. What has been your strategy on social media when it comes to Instagram or whatever platforms you're on? I know you're on Instagram quite a
Yep.
bit, but what has
Yep.
been your strategy there, and how has that kind of come fruition up to this point for you?
So I've gotten a new importance on just engagement
Right.
as well as consistency. You know, so maybe definitely, yeah, maybe in the past it was a task or tasking rather for me to post to my social media, or maybe I thought like, oh, no one really wants to hear about my real estate stuff today, whatever. That's not the case for me anymore.
Right.
I know that there are people listening and wanting to learn about real estate, but maybe they don't know how to approach me. So I have to be able to be the person to be like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm here.
Right.
Giving. Let me
Absolutely.
give you all the free information as much as I can. I don't even mind, like right now, like I'll tell for sale by owners how to better sell their home just to try to get an audience with them,
Wow.
and
I
that's it.
like it.
I think that's really important. And then just the engagement on my part of like, really the importance of commenting on other people's posts, sharing other people's posts.
Right.
That was one thing that I didn't realize kind of also still drew more attention to my page. So I do a lot more of that.
That's very true. That's something I don't think people really understand that particular dynamic when it comes to social media. And it's not always just about you putting out, it's about you sharing valuable information no matter where you
Right.
find it. And that, like you said, in turn gets you more audience, more people want to engage and talk to you. So
Mhm.
who are your kind of go to pages, your favorite pages to kind of go and check out that you learn from and you're kind of I know when we all trying to find our voice or whatever we're doing, we start out watching somebody else and kind of figuring it out from there. Who are your kind
Sure.
of go tos that you kind of learn from as you're going along the journey?
Everybody listening to this, the number one page to follow on Instagram is the Oliver Perry page. But
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
no, of course, of course. So I mean, let's see. There. All right. So the three that I would definitely recommend. There's one called the Broke Agent,
Yep,
and
one
that
of my favorites
is,
too.
yeah, exactly. He's a guy who I believe is an actual realtor in California,
Mm,
but he has created this monster page of just like hilarious memes, really funny real estate related material, and then the occasional pocket of like really nice information. I know they just recently started a thing called a Discord. I don't even
mm-hmm.
know what it is, but I'm trying to get into it because he's giving away like a lot of free information on
Yep,
how to build your pages and stuff like that. And then no shame here. I'm going to shout out an agent on Long Island who I really love. This kid's name is Dan O'Neill.
okay.
Um, he's 27 years old. I think he's only been in the business maybe 4 or 5 years, and maybe even less than that. But he's absolutely crushing it, selling almost 100 homes a year, probably more than that, with his team. And he's literally my social media hero. I
Love it.
love a lot of the content that he puts out. And once I start building up my business to something like that, I'm going to definitely be stealing a lot of his ideas. And so that's definitely one page you should be following for sure.
I love it.
And then I guess if this is a page, excuse me, this is a page for like maybe agents who aren't sure what the hell to be posting about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great little company called Keeping Current Matters, and they just post out kind of random real estate related infographics and information. It's
Really?
that's nationally wide, and so
Oh,
you can actually subscribe with them and give them a little bit of money, and they can curate all of that information with your contact info on it, and you can like send it out to your sphere. You can email it to people, but you know I like the trade and barter kind of relationship that social media has. So I'm
right,
allowed to just reshare their stuff. And I, of course, you don't have to, but I always put a huge tag of who they are on it
right.
so that they know that I recognize where this is coming from. I'm not paying for
Right. I like it though because you're following that the ecosystem, right? Like
it.
you have the integrity enough to put it in. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna tell you right now, I do it as well. Matter of fact, I see a lot of the broker agent stuff. I see a lot from everywhere else, and I'll tag them one time. If I use your stuff, I'm gonna tag it one
Yeah.
time, and then that's it. That's so you get one
Yeah.
tag, right? One tag, and then that's it,
Wait,
right? But
can I pause real quick?
please.
How do you know handsome home buyer?
Okay. So here's a story. So we're gonna
I
go
want to know
back.
that.
Yeah, we're gonna go
Yeah.
back on my side. We're gonna go back on my side. 2019, 2018, yeah, 2018, 2019. I was just getting into multifamily real estate, and I had some friends of mine who I was working with. I had met them all through RIAs online and stuff like that, and we connected.
Nice.
Shout out to Marty, Sip, and and Brad, and those guys or who I work with for a little while. And we were started doing a podcast. We started on a podcast. Started, and Charles was one of our guests. So he came
Oh,
on.
dope.
Yeah, and since then, I've kept up with him. I'm still working on getting him on here onto the podcast interview. Charles, if you're watching and you're listening, and I know you are, doggone it, you're listening. God knows I'm gonna pretend like you're listening. but we're after
No,
you,
it's the
brother. We
truth.
want you to
That
come
dude
on.
is so busy, yet he
Yeah,
still
he's
listens
busy.
and watches everything.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
he is. He is. So we got him, and since then, I've kind of kept up with his career, or kind of kept up with what he does. And I'm just a fan of people who are natural to themselves, like you, him, Max Maxwell, the real estate guru, Nasser El Arabi. I'm dropping all kinds of names right now, but all these people are like people that I watch, and I just, once I interact with you once, I'm going to do my best to continue to maintain a relationship with you because I know at some point down the line, I might very well be in New York. All right, let me call Kyle,
Right.
right? I might very well be in Long Island. All right, let me call Kyle, let me call Charles. Because, I just
Yeah.
never, you just never know. So I wanted to support him on his effort to get Gary Vee onto his podcast, which is pretty dope
Yes.
in my regard. So you'll see me
Yes.
post his
Yes.
stuff on my stories. So, but that's the story with the
That's
handsome
awesome.
home buyer. That's interesting that you mentioned him because I was thinking about him as I asked you the question. I was like, yeah, Charles is one of the ones I watch and kind of learn what he's doing and
Oh
keep an eye
yeah,
on.
he's definitely a real one. I've met him in person. I've interacted with him,
Really?
and I've been to a couple of trainings that he's spoken on. Yeah, yeah. hmm
Oh
So
yeah,
yeah,
we're
I'm
gonna have
still I'm
to,
still trying to find a house that he'll buy from me,
right?
but it'll be soon. It'll be soon.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get that plug in. We're gonna have to chase down Charles. We have to get him on here. All right,
That's right.
so let's talk about your consistency. This is something that I see that is really difficult for a lot of people, and I know I want to keep this agent specific and investor specific as much as possible. And I think
Sure.
from our perspective, things are a little bit different. It's one thing, being Harry homebuyer, brand new home, I've got a wife and kids, but you're talking Harry homebuyer, brand new home, got a wife and kids. You're juggling through the pandemic. You're wrestling alligators and alligator size rats in New York streets. All these things are happening, right? But you have found a way to
Rodents of
be
unusual size.
right.
Yes.
They're huge, but you have found a way to be consistent. How have you worked your consistency and improved that?
Okay. I think the first step for it is one, getting rid of the task of it and remembering how important it is to you and to your audience to keep doing the posts that you're doing. You
I
know,
like it.
um, yeah, you have to remember it goes back down to that core basic of your why
Right.
are you doing this, what keeps you motivated to keep going, and it's just that you if you're not consistent, if you're not always putting out content in some form or way, people are going to forget who you are.
That's true.
I,
That's
I've
very true.
I've done this. I've done the research in terms of like attention span. People's attention spans is only 3 seconds, so that's why like something like Instagram is perfect for them because they can doom scroll for hours because they
Right.
don't need to. They don't need to pay attention to anything. So you have to have something that's going to catch somebody's eye and hold them for at
Mm-hmm.
least 3 seconds.
Right.
You think 3 seconds is a short amount of time? It's not. When you're holding still for 3 seconds, it is kind of long. So you have to remember that that's time in somebody's life that you are trying to grab a hold onto. So once you remember how important that time is,
Mm-hmm.
being consistent will be really easy.
Brother, that's great. That's excellent advice. I've never heard anybody explain. Look at the swag there, so I like it.
That's it.
I've never heard anybody say it like that, let alone doom scroll. Doom scroll is a term I will be using here
Oh, you've
moving
never heard
forward.
doom scroll
I've
before? Oh
never heard
yeah,
of doom
I am.
scroll, bro. Like
I
that's
I
nuts.
am a proponent of it. I'm a victim of it. My God, you know,
Do you
it's
find
like that.
yourself? Go ahead. Go ahead. You say what?
Oh yeah, it's that 11, it's that midnight hour. It's like, oh, 12:01, let's go to sleep. Nah. TikTok,
Yeah. Yep.
Instagram,
Yep.
Facebook.
Yep. All it takes is one giggle, and the next thing you know, you're 20, 30
That's
minutes
right.
in.
I got the strongest little pointer finger in the world right here. This is my exercise. Bang, 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 bang.
All night. All right.
Oh,
So let me. So you, with you being influenced by a real estate investor, right? You being an agent yourself, what are your thoughts on becoming an investor? Is that something you're looking at some point down the line, or how do you see that future going for you?
I mean, yeah, hopefully with the knowledge that I've attained through being in the business of real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always kind of looking out for deals. If I see something that I think that my father and I can get into, I send it his way and just be like, hey, this is a pretty nice little neighborhood. If you're interested in possibly flipping it or buying and holding it,
Right.
let's take a look at it. That's all. And so, excuse me.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, I think that most most people that I follow on Instagram, at least in terms of the investors, more name dropping here. Tach Nagion from Seattle. There's these people called the Burr brothers that I started kind of looking into as well,
Okay.
and it's it's a pretty well known fact now that to build generational wealth and to build more consistent kind of, I hate to say passive income, because real estate investing is not passive income. Yes, you do collect a rent check, but there's so many other things that go into it
Yeah.
that, yeah, you have to really be ready to roll up your sleeves and be knee deep in the shit to be a real estate investor.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I agree.
so that's the message I want to get out to people, that one, yes, I would love to be a real estate investor. I think buying and holding property is a great way of turning your money into more money,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I'm sure that's not the right way to say it, but it's the way I like to hear it, because I think that's what everybody wants to do.
Right.
you know so many people are finally growing out of the idea that the only way to attain and hold on to wealth is just to hold it, and it's not. It's finding the right investment strategy, and to me, that's always still going to be real estate. I'm
Right.
sure there are plenty of people, maybe on this podcast, who will talk to you about stocks, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, whatever that nonsense is. But to me, real estate really is still the best way for you to invest money and have it return back to you in a certain amount of time.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, particularly on the single or the residential, not just single family, but the residential side of the house. Like there's a lot involved there, and
Sure.
even in the multifamily side, whether you're doing a 506B, C, or whatever it is. Fact is, even once you put your money in, you're still gonna have some kind of meetings. There's still something you have to do or have to maintain or keep abreast
Oh
of,
yeah,
so that your money
absolutely.
doesn't right. Your money doesn't go AWOL.
Maintenance, fixing things, absolutely. You
Absolutely,
know, there's only
absolutely.
so much that you can rely on your tenants to be able to uphold. You
Mm-hmm.
still have a responsibility, one, to not only provide them a comfortable place to live, because you want that rent check to be worth it to both your tenant and you. It has to
That's
be
it.
worth your time, and it has to be worth the time of the person paying for it. Honestly, yeah.
It's the truth. That is the truth. All right, man. So it's been a great conversation. We're definitely gonna probably have to get you back on because there's still more I want to go into. But
Oh, cool.
I know we got a time limit and we're tight on
Sure.
time. So I'm gonna go through our last two questions before we get to the Q&A section. Of course, for those of you
Oh,
who are
sure.
listening, tuning in, this is the new format of doing things. This is the second time I was doing it, so bear with us. We're working our way through it. We might goof up. We won't edit it out, and I want you to be a part of the process. So, first question is what we call troop to task, Kyle. And all this is you're going to give the listener something they can do right now to get onto the path of real estate investing or being a real estate agent. I'm going to leave the floor to you right now.
Oh, sure. So, if you're looking to become a real estate agent, the first thing you have to do is, depending on where you live, find out what the state regulation is. If you have to
Mm,
take a certain amount of hours for a class, if you have to take a certain test, I'll tell it for all the people in New York what you have to do. There is a 75-hour course that you have to take. You can take it online or you take it in person. And then there is a state mandated test that you have to take and pass. You have to, I believe, answer at least 75 to 80% correct for you to be able to pass. And then, funny enough, you get one of these. Ooh.
I love how you had Andy. That's good stuff.
I literally had it right there. I was like, oh, boom, perfect. You get one of your state licenses, and then you have to renew that license every 2 years
Right.
with 22 and a half hours of continuing education. And that's it, really. That's all you need to be and become a real estate agent. Um, in terms of real estate investing, as long as you have some money to spend and you want to put it into something, whether it's pooling it together with friends or finding a favorable loan for
Mm-hmm.
you to go out and buy a house, go out and do it, whether the thing is, if you are looking to flip it, then you're looking at what's called your ROI, your return on investment. So you need to look at the numbers, see exactly what you're spending, which is the I, your investment,
Mm-hmm.
and then what you could sell it for, which is your return. For anyone that's buying and holding, you're looking at yeah, for residential, it's still called cap rate, which is basically you're going to look at your expenses, which is what you are buying the property for, what you are maintaining it for, whether that's you're paying the utilities, you're paying lawn care, snow removal services like that.
Right.
You look at all of that, and then you times it into or divide it by into what money you believe can come in for in terms of rent, and as long as that percentage is good enough to you, then go ahead and do it.
Love it. Love it. Excellent advice, brother. Excellent advice. There's one thing that you said there that I've not heard anybody say, and that's pull your money together with friends. That is a
Yeah.
supremely genius tactic that a lot of people aren't using. Like you'll see it every now and then, but a lot of people aren't using. So that's really great advice, brother. All right, so
Oh, yeah.
next question is a little bit more difficult, but it's nothing that you can handle. So this question, stupid. So this question is,
Grill me.
what question do you wish you were asked more often, and what's the answer to that question?
Boy, what question do I wish I was asked more often?
Mm-hmm.
Um, ooh, man, let's see here. I'll have to really think about this one. Okay. Kyle, what's the very first thing I need to do before buying a house? Because, and I never asked that question, I think now, because websites like, Zillow, realtor.com have made it so easy for people to go out and look at photos of available homes
Right.
that they already fall in love with the house before they even know if they can actually buy it. And
Okay.
the answer to that is, what's the very first thing you need to do when buying a home? The very first thing you need to do is actually speak to a lender. And that it's usually a question that's met with a lot of kind of reserve and a lot of like, ooh, that sounds super private. I don't want to talk to you about my money.
Right.
But I mean, like, you're not buying this house in collectible pins.
Right.
You're buying it in coin. You're buying it in your money that you have either in a bank or you're getting it a gift from family, and you need to see how that money applies to the current market and the current setup of things without having a basic understanding of that idea of
Mm-hmm.
how much you can actually spend, you know, before it sends you into an amount of debt that is detrimental to your life,
Right.
then I am irresponsible by suggesting for you to like, yeah, let's go see that house because you love it. Like, no. That's why it's not the first question I ask people when
Mm-hmm.
they engage me in a real estate purchasing conversation,
Right.
because I know that it's a sensitive topic. I need to make if it and if it's a friend, it's I throw that out immediately. But if it's someone that, just a standard customer, I first find out their wants and needs because I'm a human, and I understand that's what needs to be discussed first.
Right.
But the second thing is, okay, we discuss your needs, and now you want to do this thing. This is how you're going to do it. You go through this step, you go to the lender, you can use your own if you want. If not, I got 3 guys that I work with all the time. Here they are. Go
Right.
talk to them because they're the ones that are going to really tell you what kind of house and which house you're going to be able to get.
That's actually sage-like advice, though, because there's
Yeah,
so many that are afraid of taking that first step when it comes to purchasing a property or investing in a property, for that matter. And their thought is always, they don't want to get in the game and then make the biggest mistake ever and have to get out. But it goes back to exactly what you said. 1, knowing your numbers. 2, not being emotional about it, like you said. And 3, that's really great advice, talking to the lender and really having those hard conversations. Because if you can't afford a $500,000-$600,000 house, why are you going to look at a $500,000-$600,000 house? It doesn't make sense, right? So
right.
that's great advice, bro.
You're
That's really
only
good advice.
disappointing yourself, and you're wasting the only thing that we all share, which is time.
Right,
And
exactly.
timing is everything in business. My
One
goodness, like,
hundred percent.
yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been absolutely fantastic. Kyle, I'm so glad I got to get you on, man. This has really been dope for our conversation to go from IG to direct messages to us being on a podcast and me getting to interview you has been amazing, man. If you could please make sure you leave or tell the people your tag stuff, all the information, how to get a hold of you, how to get in
Oh,
touch
sure.
with you, and let's get some stuff done there. Go for it.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you so much, Oliver. This
My
has been a
pleasure, man.
really fun experience. It has been kind of eye opening for me to kind of just share my experience and my story. And I'm not going to lie, it validates a lot of the kind of roller coaster that I've been on.
Mm-hmm.
And it does make me remember that I do know a little bit more than I think I do. So I really thank you for that. Honestly, it's not to toot my own horn or anything because I hate doing that, but it's fun to kind of re-explore the basics of this and everything. But going back to what you said, so yeah, everybody here, you can follow me on Instagram at Agent Kyle Chang. You can follow me on Facebook at Agent Kyle Chang. And of course, like I always say in my posts, if you need to know the state of your real estate, simply call your agent, because that's me, Agent Kyle Chang. 516-983-3250. Email is kyle.chang at remax.net. Hit me up. Thank you.
My God, that was good. That I gotta hold on, wait a second. I gotta redo mine. Like I am not. Oh, I'm slipping. I gotta. Oh, this is why you got friends. This is why you gotta have friends who are doing great things because it pushes you to change your game up. So, oh my God, I gotta practice mine. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna take these notes. I'm gonna go back and change mine up. But nonetheless,
You
ladies
just
and
got to
gentlemen,
buy it. That's it. You just got to buy it.
brother, that's so
You
good.
keep buying it. If you keep buying it, I'm going to keep watching it, baby.
I'm
That's
with you,
it.
man. I'm glad, man. I'm so glad I got to be a part of your journey, a part of your development. I'm definitely looking forward to continuing our friendship and relationship as we move forward, man.
Oh, yeah, man.
This won't be the last time we talk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in to me and Kyle. Chop it up, talk real estate, talk being an agent. I hope you got something from it. Please, please, please make sure you reach out to Kyle. If you're in the New York area or if you're looking to invest in the New York area or if you just have real estate questions, there's nothing
Awesome.
wrong with reaching out to him. All he can say is no, which he probably won't. But so reach out to him. If you want to get a hold of me, please feel free. Shoot me a message at The Oliver Perry. You can find us on YouTube at The Oliver Perry Show, or you can send an email to myself and my team, info at The Oliver Perry Show. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, save this and share this with somebody who you think might need it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kyle. He's on that side. There you
Yep.
go.
That's Oliver right there.
Other
Over
side,
there.
Kyle. Other side.
Oh,
Other side.
this way,
There you
this
go.
way.
There
Sorry.
you go. There you
There he is.
go. We're out of here. Remember, you're better than you were, but you're not half as good as you're going to be. We'll see you guys soon.
Oh, my.